left, northwest, Brett Broad, 30010.
United States Air Force pilots are the world's most lethal striking force. They represent all that is excellent and skillful, the supreme athlete in this deadly playing field. As the world becomes ever more dangerous, their actions and those of their crews and support teams become more and more crucial to success in combat. Less than 6 miles from the Las Vegas Strip, extraordinary war games are taking place. Pilots and crews are training in the world's most sophisticated wargaming arena ever devised. It's called Red Flag, and it pits the best of the best in aerial combat designed to simulate actual warfare on an unprecedented scale. Under controversial rules of engagement, U.S. pilots were not allowed to fire their missiles until they could visually identify their targets. By the time a MiG was close enough to see, American fighters were vulnerable to the lighter, more maneuverable MiGs. At a deadly disadvantage, U.S. pilots were forced to survive on talent and pure luck. In the early 1970s, the Pentagon determined to solve these problems. Lieutenant Colonel Lloyd Boothby was asked to participate in the legendary Red Baron study.
We were saying we need more realistic training than we have here. We need something that more closely approximates what we're going to find in combat, rather than something that is canned and generalized like we had now, and safe. The Red Baron was tasked to reconstruct every single air-to-air engagement that was held in Vietnam as closely as possible. We would interview all of the 4 people involved. It was like a fight of 4. If they were POWs, we'd interview them when they came back. We put all this together in something like a 3,000-page report with ribbon diagrams of the entire engagement, and as closely as possible the actual longitude, latitude, airspeed, everything.
Equally important, the report also revealed that if most pilots survived their first 10 missions, they became tempered and experienced enough to survive their entire tours. This revealed the need for a new, more radical training style.
They decided at that time, let's do an experiment and see if we can't get a realistic training exercise. And that was first accomplished in 1975.
Nellis Air Force Base near Las Vegas, Nevada, was chosen for the new program. Nellis had been known as the home of the fighter pilot, where the elite Air Force Weapons School and the legendary Thunderbirds were both located. The plan was for every combat environment imaginable to be simulated: surface-to-air threats, air-to-air combat tactics, and the trainees would fight a hand-picked squadron of top pilots assigned as the aggressors, who would incorporate the most current Soviet tactics.
We're still adding the technology basis to the aircraft that come out here, and we train them as such. What I would like people to understand about what we do here at Red Flag is we truly train the proper way. We train the units to fly the way we're going to fight. The proper training, the proper equipment, and then the proper attitude is developed. The knowledge base, then we can send them safely off to war. And hopefully, they'll come back, become part of the staff here at Red Flag a few years later, and train the next generation if we do have to go into combat.
Desperate combat situations, hair-raising dogfights, split-second command of million-dollar technology, and the courage and insight to make the correct life and death decisions without hesitation. After this simulated battle is over, the planes land and the pilots begin their debriefing. This phase of the exercise is most crucial to the red flag training process.
The lessons to be learned when you're flying in combat, we document on video film. So every aircraft carries a video. And therefore our training's gotten a lot better. Because it used to be when you fought a dogfight, whoever came back and was able to talk the best won the fight.
Now, you take that crew and they have a weekend. We are in Las Vegas after all, and there's a lot of fun to be had in this town. Well, what we do on Monday, that Monday, we call it Black Monday. We show them a video because historically, if we do lose an aircraft, for whatever reason, it's generally on that day.
The video is a record of deadly crashes, collisions, and tragic mistakes.
We want to make sure that they remember that they're back in the deadly realm of an aircraft because inherently aviation can be a dangerous business, especially the type we do.
Wing out of the way so guys can get through. Here's the safety team. That's a welcome sight. Those guys are on the scene.
The whole Matro safety team. The guys do such a great job.
Back there.
Yeah.
So
Sato in the background. Remember, Takuma had a very well, I don't want to say slow speed. It wasn't slow speed, but he had a minor crash yesterday, enough to tweak his wrist. This was a high-speed crash.
And I think that's the turn 5 section, Lee, isn't it?
It is 5. It's the 5 sweeper.
Yeah.
Carrying a lot of speed through there.
Flying. And let's not forget we talked about the marbles. And there's the marbles on the outside there. Sato gets loose. Oh,
no. Oh, my goodness. That is a horrifying ride for Dario Franchitti.
Oh, man. That is an oval crash we've seen before, and we hate to see that kind of impact.
Just Sato,
oh boy!
Well,
look at the debris go through. Oh boy! And fencing. Yeah, it does look like there might be some debris into the grandstands as well. That is a violent impact.
Fortunately, the fence kept the car in the racetrack.
This is Graham Rahal arriving on the scene.
Full course yellow. Full course yellow. Can you get through there?
So Sato gets loose, and Dario's got nowhere to go. That is a thundering blow.
Yeah.
It leaves you speechless.
Major Michael Schauer is a veteran pilot of the Bosnian conflict.
They had MiGs on alert, guys sitting on the ground waiting for us to come in. They were going to hop in their airplanes and take off and try to engage us. So I'm locked to him for quite some time trying to get in there and get the identification before I can shoot him. That drove me into about 17 miles, which still sounds far, but for air to air, you know, we're closing 1 mile every 3 seconds, so it doesn't take long to go that far. And missiles and airplanes are made by people. Things break, things don't always work. For this particular night, when I shot those 2 missiles, as we're closing on each other like this, those 2 missiles didn't work. And so he didn't blow up after the first one. I looked out and I go, ooh, well, the second one will get him. Second one timed out, he still didn't blow up. I'm like, well, that's not so good. Now we're 5 miles apart, and I shoot a third missile, and he actually breaks towards me, and we end up merging together. We're 10,000 feet apart, which for fighters is nothing. That's a couple seconds before we're together, and we're like this when he finally blows up. And I forgot all about being scared, and I just concentrated on doing my job for the next 30 minutes. So it was really amazing when I look back at my experience level and where I had been, the weapons school, the red flag. That training prepared me, because as soon as I got into that combat situation, it just reverted right to that, and I instantly became comfortable in doing what I was trained to do.
So I had pole position at that moment, and we come back around, coming around West Bend, which is the second to final corner. It's a right-hand corner, and I heard something pop on the car. I wasn't 100% sure what it was. My mechanical knowledge isn't quite there yet, and so that is something that we learn from. Definitely know if you can equate sounds to parts, and you might have a better understanding and might want to slow down after you hear a loud pop. So that being said, you get to the downhill portion. I get to the turn-in point. The car turns, and then I lose steering input, and it headed straight for the tire barriers. And right when that happened, I've never been in even on the street in a car accident before, let alone in a race car and at this speed. And so I want to say you're at least doing between 90 and 100 in our cars around that corner. And so that I lose the steering input. I said, okay, I can't believe this is actually going to happen. Accepted that, went to the brake pedal for as long as I could, and then what popped in my head instantly was when Austin, and you'll remember this, when we were with Kelly talking about how Chase had his incident, and the things you shared with me too, Austin, along with Kelly, as far as what to do with the steering wheel, how to handle your body's state, as far as being relaxed, or trying to become as relaxed and as accepting as you could, and driving it almost to the end, I guess to the point of impact. And so that being said, I accepted I was going to hit the wall, and there was nothing I could do. And we were aimed for the tire barrier, which was a positive, because the guardrail was just maybe 10 feet to the left. And at that point, it was just like, okay, here it comes. And I relaxed myself, took my hands off the wheel, brought them inward, and then I did close my eyes. I missed the best part, and I just smacked right into the tire barrier, went underneath it, so I had maybe 3 sets of the tire wall on top of me. And while it was sitting on top of me, I was waiting to start to feel pain, and I didn't feel anything, and so I'm like, okay, are you experiencing shock? Because I've never felt shock before, none of those things, and the more I sat there, I was like, okay, you're all right.
Somebody just explained a thing the other day is you've got a pyramid, and you've got the fighter pilot on top, and pretty much the rest of the Air Force below him. And I don't know if that's a true or accurate representation, but the guy out on the point needs to make decisions in a hurry. It's going to impact a lot of people's lives, both on the ground and in the air. So he's got to be a free thinker. He's got to be able to stand on his own feet, and if things go to hell in a handbasket in a hurry, he's got to be able to reprioritize what he's doing and make the correct decisions. There was a statement once that there's no old, bold fighter pilots, and I think that's true. The older you get as a fighter pilot, the smarter you get and the less risks you take, but you know when to take the risks to make a mission happen.
Use the correct maneuver! The suffering that we force them to go through produces perseverance, and that perseverance produces character. And that character will produce in them self-confidence and hope that no matter what happens, they are always able to overcome their circumstances and endure. And that's the trademark of the American soldier through history.
A lot of the style is lost that we had in the first round, and they're just standing toe-to-toe. There's a good right by Jones, and the referee is going to get in there and give Jeff Love a standing 8 count.
Okay, sir, 9 Gs, 15 seconds. I activated up here, go ahead and activate in there. System's hot. 3, 2, 1, get on it, pull back. You're on top, breathe. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you're looking good. Get your legs tight, push it out. Breathe. 1, 2, 3. Okay, try to make your air exchanges quicker. Spit it out, suck it in. 1, 2, unload, release the stick, keep straining, and relax, relax, relax. Okay, any light else on that one?
Negative.
G-LOC is the fighter pilot's hidden killer. In recent years, it's cost lives and billions of dollars in crashed planes. Conquering it is the biggest challenge facing aviation medicine today.
You're flying at low altitude, 500 feet, and you're skimming the terrain. You can see what can happen as far as if you are unconscious for 30 seconds and incapacitated for up to a minute. So with the ground collision avoidance systems and the systems that could take over the aircraft in case the pilot is incapacitated and fly it safely away from the ground, I think that would be a great help to help prevent catastrophes resulting from G-LOC. The fighter pilot in me will always want to be in the aircraft and experience the challenge of flying a tactical aircraft. And I do recognize that perhaps we can build airframes and remove the pilot from them so that the limiting factor isn't the pilot itself. But I will never tell you that I'd much rather sit on the ground and fly by remote an aircraft rather than being in the aircraft itself and experiencing it firsthand and making those human decisions that need to be made.
Got my 2 tally, 2 ship bearing north, nose 2 miles. Got my 2 no joy. Yamaha hostile. Yamaha 1's engaged northern.
Lock.
Yamaha 2 split. Clear.
Lock.
Yamaha 2, are you the high man? Yamaha 2. Affirmative. Yamaha 3, Fox 3, Southern. Yamaha kill Southern Hornet, heading west, 12,000.
Credit 1, copy.
Lock.
Shit. Yamaha 1's offensive in the north.
Yamaha 2 supporting.
Yamaha kill Northern Hornet, left-hand turn, 13,000.
Yamaha egress west.
Adam, copy, kill green 1.
Yamaha 1.
Altitude.
Watch the floor, watch the floor.
Nothing trains for racing quite like racing itself. And with limited track time, drivers must seek alternative methods.
I flew F-16s with the Air Force for 10 years.
And for 3 of those years, I was a mission commander and also a formally trained instructor pilot. And what I've done then is I've taken the discipline and the structure from military and commercial aviation and adapted that to training methods for motorsports.
Yeah, I mean, for me especially, going from the C2 to the simulator, your heart rate's very high, you're breathing very heavily. So you got to take a moment to really calm yourself to get everything kind of collected on the first few corners, because if you kind of drive the simulator like you were pushing on the C2, you lose it all. You know, you really run off the track. So I definitely think it's going to be helpful once we get to Barber.
I think it's just a mental thing for sure, because you get so tired from the rover, so it's definitely, obviously, fatigue comes in, but also mentally as well. It helps you kind of train it mentally as well, so it's really good.
Matt, were you going to say? What's that?
It's good for qualifying. You know, you do 5 minutes bang on here and then 5 minutes on that. It's only like 3 laps. So you do those 3 laps, it's got to count. And I think, you know, getting your heart rate up, being tired, it's like almost like a perfect fit, I guess, for qualifying. Because I guess the heart rate's like what you build up on the road is like exactly the same as what you build up just out of like building up to the event and getting nervous and all the things that you go through. You know, I think it's a pretty similar, even though it's, you know, one's physical and one's not. You know, I think it's pretty similar.